Hey, everybody. Jason Walker here with Aaron Bland, and this is the Your Rules podcast, vidcast. We're just coming to you live in video format. A little more than people want to see of me, but Mr. Bland is here with me. Aaron, week one is in the books. How did you feel about it? We always know that week one's the one with big anticipation. You run and you open up the prison Christmas morning, and what did you find week one?
It was the same feeling I have after the week one for 30 years, Jason. You ask yourself two questions because you think about the draft is what you think about. A, why did I take X? And B, why didn't I take Y? So many questions seemingly get answered week one that we had no idea. And it makes you feel a little silly after the draft.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote about it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take a victory lap because it's week one, and everything in week one stays gold forever, right? We'll take a victory lap on Darrell Henderson of the Rams. One thing that we didn't know going into it was what the Rams were going to do with their running attack, and lo and behold, Mr. Bland, Henderson took all the meaningful carries except for a couple of bones to throw Sony Michel's way. But Henderson definitely was the RB1 in that situation. And then over in Houston, where we might say, Mark Ingram suddenly turned back the clock and he was playing for Alabama again, getting 26 carries over there. I mean, some really interesting things as you open the box for week one for sure. So week one's behind us, Aaron. Week two's ahead of us. And some of the things that we saw injuries in week one. So the waiver wire is always going to be critical week to week, and we're going to tackle it here. And then we're going to go position by position and talk about some of the things out there. And Aaron, let's start with the quarterback position. And, something that, you and I have always played in 2 quarterback leagues. So it's always the pool is a little more slender, if you will, compared to those that are playing maybe in 10 team, one QB leagues, but there's always something interesting in the cards. And we saw a couple of things in week one from potential game breaking quarterbacks. And that's Trey Lance of the 49ers and Justin Fields of Chicago. And both of them got playing time in here. How do you feel about rostering one of these two guys moving forward? They're not the starters, but certainly with some fantasy scoring potential.
Well, they should of course, be rostered in every league. Fields, of course, has the opportunity to take over much earlier. Dalton is finished, but we all know that. Garoppolo came out; he played really well. He gets hurt, really, really quickly. Fields, though, already running in touchdowns. Jason, didn't take long. They bring in Lance to throw a touchdown. They bring in Fields to run in a touchdown. There's no question both those guys should be on rosters. Fields is the kind of guy that could end up with 10, 12 rushing touchdowns this year, the more playing time he gets.
I thought what was really interesting about the Chicago situation was that David Montgomery looked good. I mean, I think that offensive line in general for Chicago looked pretty good, but Montgomery looked real good. And I think having, no need to rush younger players. It was great to see Fields get in there, and you're absolutely right. He's a threat at the goal line. A lot of times you can think that has a negative impact on a running back, but the more Fields plays, the more it actually opens up for Montgomery and increases the total number of scoring chances the Bears would have versus, longtime Bengal quarterback and current sad sack Andy Dalton out there taking lumps as the starting quarterback. But certainly be able to see it. I agree with you. I think especially if you're in a deeper league with a good roster, man, these are stashes. These are guys that could be game breakers. You could already see how Fields can have a week by week impact on there. And Aaron, as you pointed out, the 49ers on the YouRulz site have a pretty good strength of schedule this year. So very nice to see Trey Lance get in there and have that. And I expect that their roles will continue to grow out there. Beyond those two guys, did you see any of the traditional passers that may have caught your eye out there?
Well, shoot, the other rookies played well, Jason. Mac Jones and the Wilson out there in New York. Both played. They looked pretty good right away. One name that I was, perusing through box scores and I saw Tyrod Taylor, has this really nice game on the ground and through the air. But, just week one, don't overreact to week one, good or bad, because there's a excellent chance the Texans won't have an explosion like that the rest of the season. They may have peaked already. So it's one thing to keep in mind. If you're rushing out, to grab a bunch of Texans players, that may be it, Jason.
Yeah, no overreaction theater when it comes to bad teams. So we certainly still expect the Texans to be bad. Maybe Jacksonville's just a little worse there. One thing about Tyrod Taylor that's interesting is, that Tyrod doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So if you're in a league in a scoring system with quarterbacks that penalize for fumbles and interceptions, you're not going to get a lot of that out of Tyrod Taylor. Traditionally, super duper low interception rate for Tyrod Taylor. That's why he keeps starting. Probably, to be fair, hasn't been treated fairly in terms of a role in this league. And where he's stepped in, there's been a young guy like Justin Herbert with the Chargers that displaces him of a job. Don't see that happening out there in Houston, but right, kind of a low ceiling, decent floor, not going to kill you type guy. And in a YouRulz format, maybe somebody that you have as a second quarterback that you can stick in there if your other quarterback gets hurt or the game flow isn't going, or they might not be throwing much in the second half. Or if it was like Aaron Rodgers last week, just stunk all over Aaron Bland, stunk all over on there. All right, let's move to a position that definitely has a little more action in terms of the waiver wire, and that is the running back position. Certainly some things happened out there last week. What do you see coming out for the waiver wire in week 2 with running backs?
Well, of course, Elijah Mitchell is the big pickup of the week. We had talked about Raheem Mostert. He's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. The coin toss, he's hurt. Season's over. The season's over. Even quicker than any of us could have believed, Jason.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the hot pickup was Trey Sermon, who I drafted in several leagues. Here we go. Here he is, a healthy scratch, benched for this 6th rounder, who, of course, has 100+ yards. How it'll be divided up going forward, I don't know. But, I mean, whoever's getting the most touches on that team is going to have a big season. They're outstanding at running the football.
No, I totally agree. Kyle Shanahan does a great job of getting production out of the running back position. And I would say this, that Mitchell, sure. I think in the short term, Elijah Mitchell's probably, it's a solid pickup. If you're just doing a straight waiver selection type of, draft and cycles, if you're using a free agent budget league, which you certainly can, I would be wary of going in. I think you're going to have to go in big because that's a typical, Aaron, this, we talked about it. The week 2 waiver wire is a place where a lot of people start to scramble to patch holes on their roster. And there's a lot of bidding on those free agents out there. But I would be aware because Aaron's absolutely right. We don't know quite what's going on moving forward. And if anybody does drop Trey Sermon in your league, I would say make them pay, because I don't think that all. I think there's some. I think there's more to the story with the 49ers in there. But to my earlier point, I think Kyle Shanahan can make anybody go, and anybody that gets in that position can do what Mitchell did in relief of Mostert last week. So, Mitchell's a good pickup. I agree with Aaron. But I'd say careful how much you spend on your free agent budget. Maybe take a pass. There's going to be other situations that are more focused. Again, the 49ers spread it out so much. It can be more focused kind of moving forward there. Let's look at Jacksonville real quick, Aaron. And my man, James Robinson, who was the hardest working man in the running business last year, 87% of the snaps he took. But this week, in week 1 with Urban Meyer, it was no can do for him. Got less than 40%. And Carlos Hyde stepped in. Maybe we should have expected it with the Ohio State connection there. But what did you see with the Jacksonville running back situation?
I mean, I think they were down quite a bit pretty quick. So I don't think they could ever even even think about establishing the run. And I think that might be a pattern all year, is if their defense is anywhere that bad, whoever you've got starting against them, get them in your lineup. It was hideous. And Trevor Lawrence, I think, attempted 50 something passes.
Yeah.
He could end up being, having a bigger year just on volume alone. So first of all, Carlos Hyde is not someone he's a grinder. If they're going to be down all year, I don't see him getting a lot of carries. Why he had more carries than Robinson, I don't know. I tell you the truth, Jason, after seeing what I saw, I don't like the running back situation at all. But Robinson is still the back to have.
Yeah, I think it's another situation where if somebody ditches James Robinson in your league, you should definitely go and pick that up. What about what about in Chicago, where we did see Damian Williams get some snaps? What's your take on Williams as a potential pickup to maybe stash, or becoming a kind of a part? What if the Bears are down kind of situation there?
I think he's a decent stash. I don't know if Montgomery can hold up to 20 carries a game. He might. He's looked good. He did look good. Something tells me though that he's gonna break down a bit, Jason. I think especially when they get Fields in there later in the year, which, let's face it, that's going to happen. They're going to be trying to grind it out quite a bit. I actually like him as a stash.
Okay. And last night we watched the Ravens, and obviously no team got gutted more than the Ravens, who lost 2 top 10 efficiency running backs, J.K. Dobbins, and the Gus Bus had to pull into the shop prematurely. And the Ravens signed a bevy of big name veterans that came in, and one of them in particular got a surprising amount of action for being signed off his couch a few days ago. Latavius Murray. What did you think about the Ravens last night? And are you interested in a little Latavius Murray action?
I just think it's going to be a committee most of the year. I do think there's a good chance Murray gets a lot of the short yardage work, so he can end up with more of the touchdowns. But the other gentleman, Tyson
Williams, yeah,
Tyson, he ran pretty well himself. But I don't think they're planning on giving anybody 20 touches. I think they're going to spread it out, and of course let Lamar Jackson do his thing on the ground as well.
Great point. We did see, as the Ravens were trying to salt away the lead, it wasn't Williams or Murray that were taking the carries. It was Lamar Jackson. That's what we talked about, Aaron, last week. We talked about how it probably meant a little more Lamar action. Of course, he fumbled, and something tells me he's not going to get the fumble treatment and be sat on the bench. But maybe they do give it to Murray there as well. All right, that's running back's always a very interesting position in there. But anything else on running backs?
Yeah, I have one more. Hines, Colts.
Yeah.
He ended up with 8 targets, 6 catches. Plus he ran the ball another 9 times. What was that 15 touches? Not too bad for a guy. Taylor got a lot of touches, and so did Hines. Another guy, especially in PPR leagues, sitting there that could give you a little boost through the air the rest of the season. He's a nice pickup, I think.
Great guy for YouRulz leagues too, Aaron, using substitutions. Colts get down. This is what they did last year. When I wrote up our rankings before the year, I said, Jonathan Taylor was great down the stretch, but I can't trust the Colts, especially if they are in a losing kind of in a lose. If they're behind in games, they always leaned on Hines, who performed so well. And you're absolutely right. He did so again in YouRulz leagues, premium leagues with in-game substitution. Putting Hines in, it even increases his value even more, because he has a very specific role in the offense. Let's move on to wide receivers, Aaron. And what name jumps out at you in the waiver wire there?
There's a few. I know Christian Kirk got a couple of touchdowns. He was kind of the forgotten man in Arizona. Of course, Arizona comes out and scores all those points. Murray throws for 4, runs for 1. Kirk certainly seemed to be getting a lot more play than AJ Green, for example. It appears they're going to least for now. It is week 1, but they're going to be putting up some points. And if that's the case, I think Kirk is sitting on a lot of waiver wires, Jason. He was kind of a hot name in the past, but this year he's forgotten, went undrafted, I think, in a lot of leagues. He's one to consider picking up.
Yeah, one thing about the Cardinals is they're going to run a lot of plays. It can be very spread out. Kirk does have that existing chemistry with Kyler Murray from last season, but he's a kind of a high ceiling, low floor type guy week to week. He showed that out there as well. The Giants, Aaron, they stink, frankly. And, Daniel Jones is nobody I want to invest a lot in, but Sterling Shepard has always shown himself to be a high volume kind of receiver. What is your take on Sterling Shepard, kind of as a PPR type pickup if he's out there?
I think if he'd stay healthy, he's going to be solid. Their passing game was a little bit better than I was expecting, actually. They didn't run the ball particularly well. They passed a lot better, at least on paper. They passed a lot better. I didn't get to catch a lot of the actual game, but I mean, Jones is going to be throwing to somebody. He spread it out pretty well. I think Shepard had the most targets. Even Galladay had a decent day, and everyone's been kind of down on him as well. Who knows? That Giants team may end up being a better passing team than we think.
Well, they might have to throw as bad as things are. They let the Broncos kind of run over them with your guy, Melvin Gordon, breaking off the big run. I'm speaking facetiously for those who tuned in before on there. Now in Denver, Aaron, Jerry Jeudy, one of the very talented route runner and pass catcher, is out with 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Who do you like kind of filling in, for his role? Should Denver be forced to throw the football?
Gosh, I don't know, Jason. I think a lot of those catches are going to be filled in by some others. I think that's going to help Noah Fant, for example, at the tight end position. I'll let you take that one. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, KJ Hamler is a guy I've always liked. He and Tim Patrick are both very talented guys. Again, it's one of those things where, if I had to go, I'd go with Hamler. It seems like somebody that fits the Teddy Bridgewater passing kind of throws. A little more in there, short, kind of in the short space in there. I think we saw that when he got hurt, but it's very interesting. Neither one of them are Jerry Jeudy, which is why Jeudy starts. But very interesting as well. One of the other guys getting some heat is the Cole Beasley out in Buffalo, and we've seen Cole playing. Talk about short area catching. This is a guy who's dominated in that area for Dallas, and of course with Buffalo. But he projects out as one of the if he's out there in your way, what would have to happen for you to have Cole Beasley on the roster?
Well, it helps when they're playing a good team because they tend to pass more. They usually have to pass more, but Beasley's not a bad PPR guy, at least off and on. I think he had 13 targets or something like that. I was kind of high on Emmanuel Sanders going in as a deep sleeper. He had 8 targets, I think, but Beasley had even more than that. But both Beasley and Sanders were guys that were almost completely forgotten, and I think went undrafted in a lot of leagues. Tell you the truth, I like both of them for cheap fill-in catches when the Bills are behind. That's when you want to get those two in there.
One of the things that happens in week 1 is, and we touched on it, we already talked about Christian Kirk, who scored. There's an overreaction to guys who happen to score touchdowns on there as well. Now, there's a guy who scored a touchdown on the big stage, but it might not be sure about it moving forward, but he's the moving van, Aaron Bland, the former Gator Van Jefferson, showing on a long pass on there. Do you think that he's a viable pickup in leagues, and how big a league would have to be to take a move on Van Jefferson?
He's a fairly deep pickup. I know Robert Woods had a disappearing week, a disappointing week. It's good though. Jefferson, brand new quarterback, comes in, is already finding Jefferson. Maybe they built up more of a rapport than we thought over the offseason. We know he's talented. We know he's good. We watched him all those years in college. His father, a pro receiver. Good one. Remember drafting him back in the 90s, Jason?
Oh yeah, Sean
his
Jefferson.
father, Sean. He's, to tell you, if in deep leagues, he's not a bad speculative ad at all. I'm interested to see what he does in week 2, Jason, if he'll continue being a big part of the offense or he'll fall back into, a 2-target territory.
Always tough when you talk about a third receiver, but Van was out there, starting in that set. And we know Matt Stafford can throw the deep ball and is fine and dandy doing it. He has no problem daring to throw deep. And I think that helps, Van Jefferson, much like Jerry Jeudy, a technician running routes and can get open, and having a pro quarterback like that is good. But yeah, like you said, kind of a deeper thing. I also like, Nelson Aguilar in New England. You're talking about a guy with Mac Jones, taking some of the short area space out. I think that good. And we mentioned the Cardinals. Hey, if you want to take some upside, Rondale Moore, very talented rookie, definitely can take things out. All right, now we'll move on to. Do you have anything else for wide receiver, or we'll move on to tight end?
Let's move on.
All right, tight end. Some of the thing. Hey, people are getting hip to your jive and saying, "Give me some Jared Cook. Give me some Jared Cook out there." What do you think about the big fella?
High on Jared Cook. I don't know why everybody was so down on him. I know he's old, but he's got 22 touchdowns the last 3 years, all after the age of 30. Here he is playing in a high-powered offense. They throw 350 yards or whatever. Why the heck not? I think he had 8 targets, something like that, 6 catches.
Yeah.
If he's sitting on your waiver wire, he's an absolute must-add.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another guy I like, Aaron, is a guy who switched teams. Gerald Everett in Seattle. Getting loose out there. I was happy to see his usage last week.
I don't see Everett racking up a ton of catches, but I think he's going to be a red zone guy all year. It wouldn't shock me if he gets 6, 7, 8 TDs, Jason. He's very talented.
Yeah, he can get down the seam. He's not a plotter. He definitely has the athleticism to stretch a defense. And we know Russell Wilson, he's got no problems either popping that ball. We saw a couple of that deep one to Lockett was something to watch. One of your good calls right off the bat. You got to love Tyler Lockett cashing in on you that first week, 2 touchdowns out there. But Gerald Everett, I liked him. We also saw Cole Kmet getting some, especially with Andy Dalton playing quarterback. Cole Kmet kind of stands out. If he's out there, what do you think about him?
I like him a lot. In fact, I like him even better, though, Jason, when Justin Fields comes in. Rookie quarterbacks often like, tight ends as a bit of a safety valve underneath. And I think he'll be even better when Fields come in. He's a definite guy to hold on to.
Any other tight ends that stand out as pickups?
Oh, God, no. We've talked enough about tight ends. Jason, I have to say, though, I was looking at the box score from last night, and I saw Darren Waller had 19 targets. Now, I just throw that out there to say I don't remember a tight end ever having 19 targets in my life. And that is just amazing. It's amazing to see. Him and Kelsey having the huge weeks that everyone expected him to have. So it's good to see these guys you invest in so highly do what they're supposed to do.
No doubt about it. All right. Now you're a streaming defense guy, right?
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, is there any defense that surprised you, early on there?
As who played better than we were expecting? Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot with that
one. All right. How about some defenses that didn't do well? Like, let's say somebody cuts Green Bay. I have Green Bay as a pretty good season-long defense out there, and they absolutely stunk up the joint against New Orleans. What do you think if I were to tell people, Green Bay is a pretty good season-long defense? Would you be all right with that, or would you say I'm nuts?
They've got to play better than that. I mean, on both sides of the ball, they were the worst team in the NFL. They were the worst team. That was the Packers team I would expect to see if Rodgers had left and Love was the guy. That's what we would have expected to see. But everybody was there, and it's like they didn't show up. Now, Jason, I can think of another team, Cleveland.
Yeah,
pretty good defense. They got to start the season, against the Chiefs. That's a tough way to start the season. They have a lead, and then, there goes Mahomes, boom, and they end up having a lousy week. Do you dump Cleveland because Mahomes blew them up? No. they're another team you hang on to. So don't overreact to week one. Don't be dropping things off your roster that you're going to regret later.
That's right. And don't necessarily go out of your way to pick up a guy. So we'll wrap it up with this. Jameis Winston, Aaron, you have to go out and 5 touchdowns. I mean, he's on pace to break every record for passing touchdowns in the season.
Well, Jason, you and I are Gators, and we wouldn't have Winston on our roster if it meant the firing squad. But there's a lot of people out there who aren't Gators.
That's right.
And Winston didn't throw for a lot of yards, but 5 touchdowns on 14 completions. There's no reason why he can't continue to put up quite a bit of scores this year, unless he starts throwing picks again and they bench him. But no, he's a worthy guy to have, just not on our team.
That's right. That's right. And I would say this too, that, don't overreact to week one. I think if he's on your waiver wire and you're doing a free agent budget, someone's probably, I don't know. Usually folks don't spend too much money on quarterback, but just wait. If you don't bid on him, and just wait, because whoever gets him will no doubt at some point in the season get fed up with him and cut him again. And then you can pick him up, because Jameis Winston is going to throw interceptions, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Come on. Don't overreact to week one for sure. All right. Well, that's it. That's our look at the waiver wire, trying to get you ready for week 2. We'll have more information on the YouRulz website as we get into week 2. Position starts and sitting and things of that nature. Any last words, Aaron Bland, before we sign off?
Yeah, just because the season started doesn't mean you can't sign up for YouRulz. Come bring a few guys with you, make a small league, start in week 2 or week 3. Try it out. See what you think. If you pay the $9.95 this year, you're not going to pay next year. So you really got nothing to lose. So looking forward to week 2 is going to be much more interesting. I think things will settle down a little bit. We'll get a little more clarification. And some of those players that had enormous weeks in week 1 will go completely dormant in week 2. I can tell you that happens every year.
Yep, no doubt. No doubt at all. Week 2 coming in. Of course, a lot of teams didn't play preseason this year. So, there are a lot of teams are trying to kind of get into it. Don't overreact being there. And like Aaron said, take advantage. Play it your way. Play it your rules. For Aaron Bland, I'm Jason Walker. Have a great week, everybody.